No, but no, it's not because I mean, it does feel really daunting, especially if you're having a great time either practicing or in a show, like more at like Jaden's age and Jaden's height. But it is okay because I mean, it is a great time, and try to have as much fun as possible while you're living that time. But but during this time, like I go to theater arts school right now, you can branch out a bit and like try new things, like, or you can focus a bit more on like plays maybe, or film and TV, or you can go to acting classes to like exercise it more. And it's not like there are no auditions that you can go to, because there are many roles for you. And after you grow a bit more, there will be like many new roles for you to go out for. So I'm told. But yeah, there will always be things for you to do, and always be things for you to exercise, like what you want to do. So it's like your age, or if you're growing up, isn't going to stop your. It shouldn't stop your interest or passion in what you're doing.
So, thank you for all the mom shout-outs. I'm actually a mom of a kid who's currently on Broadway. So I'm going to try not to embarrass him. But Cooper is currently in the cast of Kinky Boots. And my question is, so right now we're kind of grappling with the decision on whether or not he joins equity. So my question for you guys is, are you in the union? And if not, do you have any thoughts on it? It might be a better question for the moms.
Yes.
But hopefully you can feedback on that. Thank you.
I mean, I've been in equity for maybe 3 years now, and I mean, there's a lot of great things about it, you know. But honestly, your decision, whatever you guys decide, I mean, I know a lot of very successful people who still aren't. Your son obviously is one of those people. You know, so I think, you know, your decision, and either way, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a 50-50. I mean, you get to have open auditions, like you can just walk in and say, I have an equity card, and they give you an open audition like that. But I think, yeah, like Hudson said, I think it's just your choice, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay. If it does, that's okay too, because I just think whatever goes with you guys, it's whatever you guys choose.
I mean, I think my mom knows more about this than I do. Because she hasn't, like, gone, Jaden, I have to tell you about this. You know, ever, like, really? So, I'm not going to point out anything because I don't want to tell you anything that's untrue. But, again, 50-50, it's your choice on what you want to do.
I've had my equity card since I was 14. I had the option to join when I was 13, but I held off on it because I was worried about the same thing, and I'm from Atlanta, and I was like, will I be able to work? Will I be able to do like shows with my friends? And all this stuff. And once I joined, I have to say, like, it hasn't really stunted anything. Yes, I was a little bit older, so it, like, I guess there were less opportunities to begin with. But I think it's great. It's awesome to get to go on the equity website and see all these open calls, and you get to sign up for an appointment, and you just go, and there's no waiting in line, which is wonderful. And the union is really great to their actors, I have to say, so that's a benefit as well.
Yeah, I mean, I joined equity for the Newsies tour because I had to, because it was an equity contract. So, so if the show you are doing is equity, break a leg, then yeah, then totally go for it, and don't worry about. Don't worry. Yeah, I don't think you have to always just be like watching the eligibility points if you're not entirely sure if this is the time. But if it feels like the right time, and yeah, you want those benefits, and it feels necessary, then you have to go for it.
So we discussed kind of how you balance the workload with school and so forth. Can you speak to the kind of other training, like the young woman spoke to how she keeps ballet? Can you speak to like whether it's voice coaching, whether it's dancing, and other things that you do, and which you find to be the most beneficial to continuing to grow your skill set?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely beneficial to do those do that sort of training. One thing I do find though is like if you are in a show, it is harder to find time for that sort of training. But you know, if you do have free time and you excuse me, and you want to start doing auditions and you really want to take it seriously, I do think it's a good idea to start going maybe regularly if you can find a time. Voice lessons to me are very important. I don't personally do acting lessons, but you know, and dance training as well. You know, which isn't for everyone, obviously, but if that's what you want to do, then go for it. Honestly, I think you know, a lesson we can learn from everyone here is like if there's something you want to take seriously, then take it seriously.
Well, like, since I'm too tall for anything, not anything, like, yes, most things. I just keep dancing and singing and acting, and since I want to be on Broadway when I'm older, there's no part where you can't be dancing in a Broadway show. If you're a woman or female, you cannot, like, you have to dance to be in a Broadway show. Like, that is a must. And I don't like classes. I don't take acting classes. I take them, like I take acting coaching when I'm doing sides or sing songs or stuff. But my voice coach just helps me get my voice in my higher range and the things I need to work on. But I just need to work on my dancing because if I want to be on Broadway, you have to dance, you have to sing, you have to act. So I think I'm kind of just working on all of that for my future experiences.
Well, sometimes I do take acting classes. I mean, they're really beneficial. You really get a lot out of them. I do recommend them to anyone who's in the business. But any class you take, obviously, is most of the time is really going to help you. You should always go for anything you think you need, because if you do need it, then you do.
So the things that I've focused on a lot the past few years have been ballet because for me, I was confident in my jazz and tap and hip hop abilities, but I was kind of like missing that technique, so I started like strictly training in ballet. And I find that that's very helpful for all forms of dance. It's helpful for using your body as an actor. It's helpful for using your body for voice. And I don't necessarily always enjoy it, but it's worth it. But also taking voice lessons for me, I know they can be expensive, but it is really worth it. Having a good like vocal warm-up routine is really important so you don't injure your voice. I've also found that just watching YouTube videos of other performers, listening to other singers to pick up on their styles and kind of that has helped me a lot with finding my own style and learning how to sing different genres of music.
Yeah, I think there are a few, it can be difficult at times for certain things. Like I was taking, when I was doing falsettos, I was taking tap dancing at the time and piano classes, and I did that less when I was in the show. But as far as vocal classes and stuff, I went sometimes on my day off. We all, for most shows you have Mondays off. And I went there a lot. You know, sometimes you might want to rest that day, but you can always go before school sometimes. And if you don't take a class, sometimes you can call them, or you can warm up, like on YouTube and stuff like that, or recordings you have. Like, you can definitely manage it, but, I mean, you are in a show, so you are exercising your acting and your singing with that, and you can prepare before the shows and stuff, and especially, like, in the shows with a lot of the adults, their practicing is kind of like, I've kind of picked up on that, and so, yeah, there'll be people that'll help you along the way.
Can you talk about a learning moment, whether it be funny in the rehearsal room, outside the rehearsal room, or really serious, that kind of let you know, oh, this is what it means to be a child or a really young actor on Broadway, and just like give you that oh shit moment, like.
Language.
Well, I do have one that comes to mind, but it's not necessarily like, in fact, well, the story takes place when I hadn't done anything. I had been auditioning for maybe like 2 years or something, and I hadn't booked pretty much anything. And I had this one friend who was in the original cast of School of Rock, and her mom. I remember I was in my manager's apartment, and they were there too, and we were talking about it. You know, I was telling her, like, in the past week I went on 4 auditions, and the past 2 weeks, you know, like 8 or something. It was crazy, and nothing, you know, not only did I not book them, they weren't even going that well. And I remember what she told me, and this has stuck with me the entire way. And every time something does go my way, I think of her, and I wish she was here so I could give her the biggest hug. She, what she told me was, it was very simple. She just said, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And at the time, I thought of that, and I was like, wow, that's deep. You know, and like, I just thought, like, what could that possibly mean? And now, every single day, I understand more and more what that means. Living the life I do, being up here, you know, with all these other amazing people, I still think about her and what she said. And, you know, just a very small thing, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's something someone said. That learning curve, I guess.
My acting coach said if you get 999 no's, there will be absolutely one yes in the world. There will be more than one yes, but they're just going to be hard to find. And I always looked up to that, even if I'm to the last person in an audition and it's just me and another girl. I say there's 999 no's and one yes there, more than one yeses. And if this is a no, then that is okay because there's more yeses out in the world. And I just take that into advice and say, if it's not my time, it's not my time. If it is, that's awesome. So, yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
How would you like me to explain more? Like what
Or I guess just, like, was there a moment, or maybe like encouraging words that have been spoken to you when things weren't going so great?
Yeah. My sister, if like I am feeling sad, again, you really can't be an actor if you feel bad for yourself and start crying if you don't book something. But my sister would always comfort me if anything, if any emotions came up about really anything. We would lay in bed and she would just kind of calm me down. But I have to say thanks to my sister.
So I actually have 2, but they're quick. So I'm sure Felicia remembers this. I became very obsessed with Harry Potter when I was doing Violet, and I would read backstage. And I didn't really have all that much time off of the stage, so I would like pick up the book for like 3 or 4 minutes. Well, one time I got really into the book and not listening for my cue. And I was like 5 flights up, and I had come running down the stairs. I was like, Felicia, Felicia, Felicia. And I missed my cue. And it was the last day of previews, and I beat myself up about it. And it wasn't even, like, I was hopping on stage to sing like 2 lines. It wasn't a huge deal, but for me, I was like, oh my gosh. And so I really beat myself up about that. And then I realized, I was like, you know, as much as like being on Broadway or in any show for that matter is like an adult job, at the end of the day, like, you are a kid, you're gonna make mistakes. Adults make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. The show goes on. So that was something I learned. I also learned not to read backstage. And then also at the end of the run, our assistant choreographer came up to me, and I was one of 2 kids in the show, so we were like working with adults the whole time. But she said to me, she was like, Emerson, you cannot, like, promise me you will never lose that childlike quality, that wonder. And while sometimes that's hard to maintain in this business because it can be hard, you can face a lot of rejection, that's something I've tried to keep like in me, is like the beauty of it all, and the wonder of it all, and how much I loved it back then and still love it.
Yeah, I think the first thing that came to my mind was my experience with the director of falsettos, James Lapine, during that, because as far as I think the best part about being a child actor in that show was that he didn't treat me like a child actor, and it felt very like, I haven't really had experiences where a director were like that condescending, but it felt really great to be like treated as like a peer there, and it really made me think of how I acted in shows differently, because he was so experienced and so professional, and just being, and he would get me out of like certain habits I had, and he would make me think about the character differently, and just being professional in shows in general and having a good attitude about everything. It was really like a master class in just kind of being there, and yeah.
I think we have like 2 more questions. Oh, yes, in front.
What are the hours? Like, how long do you usually work? Like, how long is school and then how long is work? Is that like, if it goes late, is it like really hard to like get away?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely difficult because, you know, the hours are long with school and with the show. You know, one of my biggest, one of the things that's the most challenging for me is the fact that, you know, we have to wake up early every day and then go to bed super late every day. And that makes, you know, sleep really tough, and that makes the next day really tough. And, you know, it's a struggle.
Well, like on one show days, we would have at least 4 to 6 hours of school during the day, and that was difficult, and we would have about maybe an hour and a half to go get, to rest and to go eat dinner, and then we would go to the show, and I was a swing, so I just sat backstage and for 2.5 hours, and then we went home and I crashed every night. But it was very difficult because we were getting out of the shows, like sometimes there were lots of people for autographs and pictures, and maybe we wanted to go out to dinner, someone was coming over, or we had friends, and it was just very difficult. We would usually, like if no one was coming over or we didn't have any plans for that night, we would go to bed at about 11. And then we didn't really wake up. The kids, like on lunch days, if they could, they would wake up at like 1. They really slept in. So, but it was difficult. I mean, we had a lot of school, a lot of shows, and then it was especially hard on 2 show days. But.
Do you want to do one?
Yeah, let's just do
one
another
more question. Yeah. Okay, so let's do one more question. Okay, over there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Me?
sorry. I
Me?
just talked.
Oh, no problem.
Right there.
So I'm directing my first middle school show, And I'm wondering what you can share, what advice you can share with the young actors about interacting with props and scenery and crew.
Well, I would tell them to like only touch their props. Yeah, because that's a big thing I know. Like, oh, props are super cool. No, like eating in costume or like put something on your costume. Like it can all be very exciting, and especially like when you're that age, everything's very new. So I guess just I don't exactly know. Like I think the big thing is just to like only touch what's yours, and to